Welcome to another episode of Peers Over Beers, your favorite digital and social evangelist podcast, with your industry veteran hosts, Michael Sandoval and Chris Tetzel. This podcast starts now. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Peers Over Beers. I'm one of your hosts, Michael Sandoval.
And I'm the other host, Chris Tetzel.
Yeah, my pause. I was going to say guest for some reason. I was like, oh, I don't know what that was.
We haven't had a guest on in a long time.
Oh yeah, we have it.
We probably should think about that.
You know, I was talking to. So you know what? I've been away for a couple of our sessions because I was doing some due diligence on some vendor selection, and one of them is from a fintech called BankJoy, and very, you know, we're evaluating two vendors. One is a company called Alchemy, and another one is called BankJoy, and they are completely different companies. And I see them as like two companies that started with similar resources at different points in time. So their evolution of growth, they're almost mirror of each other's. So
interesting.
Alchemy has gone through the we'll call it the venture capital side. They went through their growth pains. They had some ugly growth pains. Then they emerged on the other side, got their mojo back, accelerated, went to IPO, and now they're a big, kind of a big multi-million-dollar company. BankJoy is just about ready to hit that growth pain. And
so
what's really
pain.
Yeah, but they have a very compelling product, right? It's very compelling. And they went through their first VC fund is through the Y Combinator. Y Combinator is a very prestigious, very hard to get VC funding out of the Bay Area.
Okay.
So there are definitely some investors who really find the product, very believe in it. But so I say those because the contrast is apparent. So I go to one company and they're very polished. I mean, the presentations were done by a professional. They had an ad agency come in and do their, Alchemy is about making, dirt into gold, the old school, but it's, it's the earth, air, wind, and fire elements, right?
Yeah.
And so that is part of their ethos. So like marketing is part of the fire, that kind of, organizational
that was kind of compelling,
structure.
Pretty impressive.
So it was very impressive. They have like VP of this and CTO of that, and a lot of high paid people, which I find fascinating, but that all being oversaid over here. Yet in the other company was just like the founder, his wife, who was the COO.
Oh no.
And yeah, no, exactly. And then the founder's wife's sister is also a developer. And we're in a small little, kind of behind a credit union type of building. Again, and they can compete with these guys, right? I mean, we're there clearly because the product is that compelling.
Yeah.
But, you kind of look at it and go, is this the boat I want to jump in on?
I'm sure there's but I'm sure there's some really cool things that they'll do for you because maybe you'll be one of their bigger customers at first. You know what I mean? And so
I think so. I mean, they have other credit unions and other financial institutions. They just announced that they're going into Lafayette Credit Union, which is $1 billion asset credit union. But a lot of these credit unions just don't have, which I find fascinating. We talk about how digital is constantly changing the way we are interacting and getting information. And there is just a large swath of financial institutions who have not gotten the memo.
Yeah.
And it is, and you and I were in an industrial, we saw the consolidation of the distribution channel from B2B.
Yep.
And I see that kind of happening, I think, on the financial sector
Hmm.
for credit unions. There just can't be, I just don't see how they do it. It's just to go digital. They won't grow. I just don't know how they do it. I just find it fascinating. Anyway, so this one Lafayette was the reason they picked them was to change their interface.
Yeah.
But I asked him, I said, we have all these questions about what you're going to be doing on your roadmap to solve X, Y, Z. And I said, how do they solve it? Because clearly they're a little bit bigger than we are. And they said, well, that's just not their ambition. And I went, oh, okay, that's why. Man, that's tough. Anyway, I've whinged
They
on for
have
a
no
while.
ambition.
No, that's what it is. I mean, a credit union could be okay to say we don't have an ambition to grow. We just want to maintain low rates, good loans. You get what you need. That kind of stuff, and they're happy with that.
Yeah, but doesn't that eventually go
Yes,
into death? I mean, in some
yes,
a slow death in a way,
yes,
like a
yes. Your average age of your membership base begins to sweep off, right?
because as even myself as I get older, even or even my kids or maybe the 30-year-olds, 20-year-olds. I mean, do they even go to credit unions? In general, I mean, do you see a whole bunch of people moving that direction? Because I don't think of credit unions anymore as being kind of this like a big chase, obviously, but I just don't. I don't hear about the value like I used to as a kid or as a 20-year-old. Used to have, I bought my house 15 plus years ago almost, and I used a credit union called Resource One,
Mm-hmm.
and they're still around, but I really don't know how. Their digital sucks. Everything about them sucks. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I actually know them very
I,
well.
I just, I mean, maybe they do some good things that I just don't know about, but you know, for the most part, as a bank, though, ugh. Like I have just a bad taste. I've been with them for 15 years, and when I need something, or like I'll give you an example. I was trying to pay my condo down. I'd pay like
Mm.
$100 or $200 more, or sometimes I'd
Mm.
pay an extra
The
five hundred
principal.
dollars. Yeah, pay down the principal,
Mm-hmm.
as people do, and and I would put that in the note, when I do it, and the check that sends out on an automatic standpoint. And I come to find out, like 5 months later, they weren't putting it to the principal. And I was like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? So I'd tell them, call somebody. Oh, yeah, we just didn't do that. Just, yeah, see it in the nose. I'm not sure why that didn't happen. We'll do it from now on. Next 2 or 3 months, do the same thing. And they wouldn't do it. And I'm like, this is pretty simple stuff that a bank should be able to do and not do manually or whatever. You know, this is bullshit. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
I mean,
That's
even
exactly why.
today they can't do it.
This is exactly why I think credit unions are having a challenge because they are not keeping up with the times. So
Yeah,
it used to be popular because you could just go into a branch and just take care of everything, and it was manually entered. However, now you just mentioned you send things in, you want to do it on your app. Why can't you just pay?
I don't think
With
they even have an app.
Venmo.
And if they
Yeah, no,
do,
well they
I'm
do. I'm
not
sure
going
they
to
have
download
to.
it.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough, right? And I think that's a prime example of how I know consolidation will occur because eventually they're going to lose their membership base
Yeah.
and they'll move on. The one thing credit unions do very, very, very well, and that's why I think they're still around, is lending.
Hmm.
They Because it's not a profit engine. Credit unions are nonprofit.
Yeah.
They can take whatever they gain and they put it back into the cost of things. So that's why they can always offer loans that are cheaper than the banks.
Yeah, that makes sense. Look, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the whole point of this is, one, vendor selection, but also the two vendors you're looking at kind of in the opposite, one's on one spectrum and the other is just starting out
Yeah,
ish,
I'm
you
going
know.
down a rabbit hole
No, but
about credit
it's
unions, but
no, we always go down rabbit holes,
yeah,
but you know, so it is interesting to kind of look at from a digital standpoint where you guys are headed, and do you think that it's going to make you know like when you decide on the or the vendor, how long is that going to take? And then do you see a huge
Oh, this is the other thing
lift?
that kills me. Yeah. So yes, yes, and yes, and yes. So uh, I am excited that at least where I am, I I'm very confident that the roadmap we have on a digital experience side is going to drive higher acquisition, more membership, and more loans. Believe it or not, that's kind of one of the things
Yeah.
I want to be metriced on. And one of those two companies I just mentioned will, as I say, will get us to the promised land. The the challenge I have is timing,
Hmm.
and I, I'm looking at timelines that are like 18 months long. And
And you've already been there almost like a year and a half or
yeah,
something.
I can't. I, in a sense, I'm having to swim or to boat, in a small digital dinghy, and try to stir up something for the next 18 months.
Well,
That's a new word for the day, digital
I
dinghy.
think, I mean, I think obviously you need to get, and maybe you're already doing this, is the people to kind of start doing it. But then I'm sure they have consultants and whatnot to help kind of do some of that too. And I mean, are you ready to start kind of making shit happen or?
Yeah, I made an offer to a manager, so
Cool.
kind of a director level, if you will. So she'll, hopefully, I mean, we're still kind of going back and forth, but hopefully it'll all work out, and we'll put some emphasis on the digital side of the house, and that'll free up me to go do some bigger things, right? So I get caught up right now in a lot of day to day stuff, and
Yeah.
I just need someone to go manage that. But
Cool.
yeah, no, I feel
Congrats on at
confident
least
that
getting somebody or potentially getting somebody.
yeah, it was tough. It's a toughie. But alas, that's in some way kind of what I'm working on, and why it was pertinent is because it's a it's about how I am taking, this company is going through a digital transformation, and I find it so fascinating
Hmm.
that the rest of my, you know, cohort in this financial industry are not, and I have no idea that they have not gotten the memo. It's crazy.
Well, that is kind of weird. That's
Yeah, well, you
crazy.
just met the one you mentioned. This is I know that credit union very, very well, and the fact that they're still trying to figure it out. It's amazing.
Yeah, look, they redid their whole entire website a few years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
it's still terrible. Like,
Yep.
it's slightly better than it was, but I mean, you'd think all that money that they spent, on whatever it, this whole redesign of your website would make changes, but they didn't. They just, you still can't do the basic shit, I mean,
Yeah, it's tough.
so,
Yeah,
but
and I was going to say, what have you been working on? Before we started, you were, uh, you know, even in community land, it it can be a long haul, right?
yeah,
So you were kind of thinking about how do I just take a deep breath,
yeah, I think, yeah, I think sometimes, you know, look, I'm a very driven person, so I'm always trying to just boom, 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 get shit out, get out, get shit out, get
That's
shit
true.
out, and I think for me, I've got to figure out ways to kind of slow down because I just eventually get burnt out,
Mm,
and so it's like I was telling you earlier, last Friday, I was just so spent from the week, because I did so much and I just, I did the minimum amount of work that day. you know,
yeah.
I don't usually do the minimum, but I did that day, and I just kind of had to rest a little bit, and I think it's important to, take time off, take vacation, take, the time you need to really, it's really got to focus on yourself sometimes. It just, I mean, at the end of the day, work is just work, and it's an important part of our lives, and we have to do it, but it's not our life. You know what I mean? And so I gotta continually remind myself of that, because I tell people that
Yes.
all the time, right? So, look, I want to be good at what I do. I want to impress people. I want to more so take care of my community members, making sure they're getting what they need, build programs that can, get them value, but also think about how the company can get value out of it, show the
Mm,
metrics that are coming out of, the community in such a short time, and, and then keeping the wolves, like the executives, kind of at bay in a way to say, hey, look, you
It's an
know,
interesting word you use, wolves.
yeah, I mean, but they want to know the value, the value, the value. We need the metrics. Let's do all the metrics. And I'm like,
Mm.
I agree. And I think some of that stuff is good for me, just for the fact of, at the very least, is building for the future. Because my boss is a big metric kind of person. It's all about the data. Just like our old boss was. Just like you were. Um, it's not always easy to get, and sometimes then you got to tell the story of why certain things aren't as good as they would be, or should be, or maybe they shouldn't be. Who knows? But why? Tell the story of why. So eventually you get a little stressed out and a little kind of, it's okay. Let's step back. I'll go do this Monday. You know what I mean? So
Um, what, what do you? And I'm just curious from my own personal. What do you do to like chill?
yeah, for me, it's a lot of different things. One is, I exercise a lot. I
Mm.
set goals for myself for the next year, and my wife and I, for example, are going to do this race called Trans Rockies for next year to be in August. We've already booked it and everything else. It's 120 miles in 6 days with 20,000 feet of gain.
This is
In
relaxing.
Well, it's not relaxing, but it helps my mind, right? Like now I've got to prepare for it. That's one. So setting goals, big goals, like it's a big thing for next year.
Mm.
And then I'll have somewhat smaller goals from a running standpoint. Two is, I've been on a kick on scotch lately and starting to buy higher end scotch and having a drink or two at night. Not every night, but maybe once every other week, sometimes once or twice a week.
Mm.
Um, because that helps relax me and go out to eat to a nice restaurant with my wife a
Mm.
lot, take the kids swimming, get with my brother and them and then just hang out, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
just, I stay active and stay focused. Every now and then, like there's this video game that I bought the other day. It's baseball. It's like a general manager baseball game.
Oh, yeah. You were gonna tell me this. What's the game called?
I forgot what it's called. I'd have to go look, but it's on the computer, and
Okay.
it's basically about GMing your baseball team. You pay your players, you do all these things, and so it just gets me
Oh,
in the
that's
kind
right.
of,
You like baseball.
yeah. I mean, I like anything that has to do with strategy type stuff. So it's the strategy of building a
Mm.
team, not playing the game. Like I don't ever play the game, but I find the players, I pay the players, I have a budget that I have to spend, and then it takes hours, dude, like hours upon hours upon hours, and then
No
you lose.
joke.
Yeah, and so you get fired if you don't start, hitting these numbers, winning, and it's intense, dude. Like, yeah, just to because I'm not thinking about work, at all. And so, but if I don't do that, man, I'll be up at night thinking about my boss's face will be in my head for some reason. I'm like, get out,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
It's interesting. I, I kind of do something similar. I don't necessarily go on runs, but I will. The gym for me is such
yeah,
uh, a thing. Like I'll do spinning class, and like about halfway, just there's a moment when, but usually about 20 minutes in, where I can feel my anabolic and um, what antibiotic? I forget that it's the curve that you're switching into burn
yeah,
rate, and my body actually feels different, and I guess I get into the zone. I think it's probably what
get these
folks.
endorphins type of,
Yeah, and then I'm like, all right, let's kick it up, and that's when I feel like I'm burning off my stress.
yeah, yeah. I think
Uh,
I'll do like Orange Theory twice a week, and
mm-mm.
I think that I just have to have that
You
kind
have
of
to have
stuff.
that physical activity.
Because some of it, even when I'm running, I'll think about work, but I'll think of more innovational type things that, ooh, I should go do that. And then when I get back, write it down or actually go do it, all sweaty, just kind of doing some shit, So,
You're right. You mentioned something that I'm thirsting for lately, and partly because it's COVID. But I
mhm,
have missed going to a thought leadership conference,
mhm,
seeing what others are doing, be impacted by the success of others, and
yeah.
going, "Ooh, I would like to try that," or "I want to get that idea going."
there
I
are a
do
lot
miss
of
that.
there are a lot of conferences like that within the community world. They're just
Mm.
all online, and
Yeah, well, I mean that's the you know.
I'm just like I don't really feel like sitting on Zoom much longer than this. I can't imagine sitting on there for 4 hours, 3 hours, and
I can't.
usually I'm the first one to kind of say, "Hey, I want to present." And this year, I didn't volunteer for any presenting opportunities, just because I'm tired of one. I'm super busy at work, but two is I just don't want to be on Zoom that much. I'm on Zoom all day, every day. Like we have these 3 hour meetings on Monday, these 3 hour meetings on Tuesday,
Ugh.
and I'm just like,
Well,
okay,
let me ask you this: Does since you have been very used to working from home
yeah,
on a few of your career
yeah.
career moments, wh- is there a what are some of the downsides in working from home? Because the
Well,
upsides seem apparent to me. Clearly, it's your own schedule. You
yeah,
can go to work in your
I think for
pajamas.
me, there's probably the
No
only
commute.
downside is during, yeah, I mean you hit some of those. The commute is always the big, and look, you don't have kind of this, you set your own schedule in some ways and things like that. The only downside is more of the uh, COVID stuff, right? So now you're
Mm,
100% on meetings. So before, I had the luxury of being able to travel to different places, and I would schedule that, right? Like I'd be gone for
mm,
2 weeks to Israel or to Belfast or
mm,
to California. I'd be gone a week, and I'd go every month, for a few days, anyways, and things like that. I can't do that now. So being at home all day, every day sucks sometimes. Not always,
mm.
but now I'm just on all these fucking meetings, that you're on Zoom, and that's how you just do business. And you know, I don't know what it's called, but somebody said FOMO or something. But some people don't want to miss out on meetings, and I'm being asked to be on some of these meetings lately
And
over
you're
the
like,
last two, three
I, I,
months.
I don't have FOMO. I'm okay
I
with
said, if
MO, missing out.
yeah, yeah, I don't. I want to miss out. No, seriously, like there was this one meeting. I won't say which meeting it is, but I mean,
But Mary Lou, if you're listening,
yeah. But if you're listening, um, but it's like, Chris, you need to be on this meeting because you're the only one from community. Okay, I'll get on. And I'm like listening to this meeting, and I'm thinking, okay, um, nothing has to do with community, and I'm all for learning,
ah,
and I like to learn, and it's kind of cool to see some of the things going on in the organization, but I don't have time to learn
yeah,
all this
you
much.
have shit to do.
I have to go do work.
Yeah,
So, and I'm about to tell this person, I was like, hey, I'm not going to make these meetings anymore, but if there's something to do with community, then let me know.
I
No, I'm
will join in.
serious.
No,
I
you have
will.
to. You have to draw the line.
And it's another meeting that did the same. And I told them, I was like, hey, you guys are focused in on these kind of things over here, which are
Mm,
important. But I don't want to sit here and not be able to contribute. I can't contribute to this because I don't know what the hell you are talking about.
mm,
One. And then two is when it has something to do with us, let me know. So I bailed out on that meeting because it was sometimes it's an hour, then you got to prepare all the shit, and then on Mondays
mm.
you got to present some shit, and I'm like, I don't have time to do that, like if it has something to do with you know digital support community or kind of how community can be into some of these conversations, and and then anyways, it's
No, no, no.
just
This is so fat. This stuff is it's fascinating to me because I often wonder if because now it's so easy to just get people online because it's all Zoom that they just go meeting hungry and
I
just
think
starts
so,
inviting
man.
everybody. I've had a few of those now, and I'm like, I I have shit to do.
Yeah, I think you just have to be able to say no, and I used to think that was easy at some companies, but you know being the lone community manager, which I think we're going to grow at Reltio community, but uh, it's hard because you want to be in parts of the organization like product or um, support or some other areas that you don't want to miss out on, but
Hmm.
you literally don't have time. I am the strategist of a community, but I'm also the tactical person in a community today.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, I got to do my job too.
Yeah, I
I'm
know
not
that's
a VP
probably
with all these people under me that I can just get these people to do
uh
this shit.
what are
I
you
just
talking
can't.
about?
You know? Yeah, but you're growing a team. I'm
Yeah,
hoping
no,
to grow a team,
I
and
still
now
yeah, I
eventually I
still
can do
have
that.
yeah, I still have a lot of things that I'm doing myself.
Of course you do, because you're
Yeah.
you're kind of the only guy that knows how to do what you're doing. But you have to
Yeah.
get out of that at some point. I mean,
Nope,
you
I
can't.
am. And I
So
will, and I can't wait to do that. And I like teaching others so they
you're very
can
good at it.
they can just fly, fly, fly. Well, my friend, I think we've had a lovely little chit chat. As always, I appreciate the talk,
Yeah, me
and
too.
get we chance to meet again. But one of your hosts, Michael Sandoval.
And I'm Chris Detzel.
All right, talk to you guys later.
All right.